Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. So I decided to also look into JD Vance natal chart, even though we do not have the exact time when he was born in Ohio. So he was born in August 2nd, 1984. Um, I'm gonna try to use the sun sign as the first house to interpret the chart because we don't have the timing. Sun in Leo, it is about the authority. It is about uh, being the emperor because Leo is the sign for the emperor, and Venus also in Leo. That means he likes to shine. He likes to shine. He likes to be in the authority. So definitely he has his ambition in being um, in a government position, definitely. um, Mercury in Virgo, it is considered as exalted because um, Mercury is ruled by Virgo, and he can be a good speaker. But we have to look into the aspects also. Anyway, I'll do the planets first. The moon sign in Libra, uh, he cares about fairness. If you treat him fairly, he will treat you fairly. This is the mentality of a Libra. Um, and he's always constantly weighing the balance. Like, uh, he's very cautious about whether people are treating him fairly or not. So people who work with him has to be very careful because if you going out of balance, then it can create problems in between, um, you know, between him and the other person. Pluto in Libra, he is excessively um, concerned about being fair or not. So this can be a good thing, can also be a bad thing because fairness is, it can be a perception among human beings. Sometimes we think this is fair, but the other person might think it's not fair. Um, if we tried our best to put a standard about fairness, we can be disappointed because there are a lot of influences that we have to take care of, including cultural influences and traditions and all kinds of things that can impact the sense of fairness. Saturn in Scorpio. Scorpio is about secrecy. It is about something that is unknown. And if he deals with secrecy in his life, that can be a very long-term situation that he has to deal with. And it's uneasy for him to overcome those secrets. Mars in Scorpio. Mars is comfortable in Scorpio because it's ruled by Scorpio traditionally, before Pluto is being uh, revealed. So he does have the energy, tremendous energy to achieve things. South Node in Sagittarius. Well, he's born with the mentality of the Sagittarius, which is about uh, being right about things, philosophical, even religiously. Uranus in Sagittarius. Um, is telling me that there are things that he was born with, um, there were disruptions um, that affected him personally. That's why he had to let go of some of the beliefs. Um, he had he has to go through personal transformation. Um, and when we look at the North Node, it is in the sign of Gemini. Um, it is about the duality. So perhaps something in his early life taught him to become a person who can be kind of two-sided at times, goes both directions. Um, because in this case, um, because he doesn't want to experience the disruptions that he experienced in his early life. So he tends to think going both directions can be beneficial for him. But the Chiron in Gemini with the North Node, there is a price for him to be two-sided. He has to pay the price in his life to be two-sided, but that's his calling. Neptune in Sagittarius, um, it can be some kind of illness or sickness that he experienced in his early life, that can be kind of unexpected in nature. Um, some kind of deceptions can also happen when he was dating earlier in his life. So definitely some kind of deception and unexpected situation happened when he was dating. Even with his children, can somehow have some kind of unexpected events that happen to them. Can be health related also. Jupiter in Capricorn. So Jupiter in Capricorn is the sign of government. So he definitely he likes to work in a government position. That's what he likes, and yeah. Okay, so now let's talk about some of the aspects that are worth to be looked at. First of all, the sun. Um, the sun has a minor aspect, semi-sextile um, with Mercury, so he has good communication skills that can attract a lot of attentions, because Leo is the energy that attracts attention, and what he speaks about can uh, you know can bring a lot of attention. The sun squaring Saturn, though, it can be interpreted in various ways. First of all, it can be perceived as his authority is always being suppressed by secrecy and perhaps someone older than them. So there can be secretive situations involving someone who has an age difference with him, so that his authority can be kind of um, minimized in certain ways because we're talking about a square aspect. So Saturn is about restriction, and even though Saturn has some good aspects, such as with the Jupiter, um, with Mercury, um, well, if we count from if we count Leo as the ascendant, then second house will be Virgo, and Mercury in Virgo aspecting Saturn and Jupiter. So that means there can be financial things, perhaps his income, um, some kind of financial matters. Actually, they're pretty good for him somehow, but at the same time, because these money actually they come with responsibilities and restrictions, and these restrictions can actually affect his personal identity, his personal authority of his life, um, of his image also. So some kind of money situation can actually really impact him. I don't think in a good way because the sun is actually aspecting Uranus also. So his reputation sometimes surprise people, and this can actually be related to some of the financial dealings that he involved with or he will be involving with. Can be some situations around the donors, and that actually brings the restrictions of his authority and yeah. But on the other hand, the upside is perhaps the Saturn square Sun thing. Probably he can be a candidate for vice president, but if we're talking about president, then probably it's kind of not auspicious because the sun sign in Leo, if we only look at the sun sign in Leo, this can be a very good position for leadership. But when it is being aspected by Saturn, then the leadership ability is being negatively impacted because of the other factors. But if he's in a vice president position, then it's already the power is already kind of not is not the most powerful position for a person to be the vice president. So I can see why he's being picked as a vice president, but not running as a president himself. Because of the Saturn position. But at the same time, is also kind of alarming because the sun sign in Leo, if this is about presidency, authority, it does not necessarily only meaning himself, can be the person he worked with. So this can also be Trump. And if this is representing this Trump situation, then it can be JD Vance personal matters affecting the the person who is running for president. The Saturn square Sun it can mean his personal JD Vance personal matters can actually impact Trump's campaign um, in certain ways that are kind of unexpected and not in a good way. Um, Sun trine Uranus, though, unexpected rise in authority, unexpected improvement in reputation. But Uranus, it can be either good or bad. Sometimes we can't tell because it is not meant to be interpreted in a normal way. It, it is a wild card. Like in one moment, they can be suddenly gaining a lot of fame, but another moment they will be like, you know, it can go the other way. Sun sextile Chiron. Um, I think he has learned a lot of things throughout his life about friendships and groups, organizations, and he experienced um, definitely some betrayal and sadness about friends and what the others talk about him and um, yeah, in his communications he has experienced some um, difficult situations with his friends, but those situations actually brought him to where he needs to be. um, but I can say he tends to be you know two-faced kind of because he finds a good reason to be two-faced. Mm. And then let's talk about Venus. Venus squaring Mars. Um, so Venus in Leo can be very attractive. Um, and to a certain extent, his persona actually uh, could be a conflict between he and his siblings, if he has any siblings. I don't know about that, but if he has any siblings, any male person in his family um, who has age difference with him, they can conflict with each other because of his persona, the Leo energy, the Venus in Leo energy, which can be, attracting a lot of attention. And some guys in his family might have problems because he actually got most of the attention, while the others in the family, especially males, you know, who 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 really love power and attention at the same time, but then they didn't they didn't have the attention that they seek for because of the Venus in Leo energy of JD Vance. So they can be, jealousy and manipulation within his family um, because of his persona. And these manipulations can be mostly coming from the males in his life who are older than him. So this sort of makes me question if Trump is if Trump is totally comfortable with JD Vance persona, because um, there can be some kind of conflicts. Um, it might be a different scenario because we have to look into synastry, but now I'm not looking into synastry. I'm just talking about JD Vance personally. Okay, then Venus square Mars. Um, he might be very driven to do a lot of things at home. Um, but then the things that uh, the things that he does in his home can actually affect um, his personal appearance. Um, so what I can say is that because he has a lot of responsibilities about his home and family, and there are things that he likes to do. um, I wonder if he actually wants to become um, in the entertainment industry somehow at first. Um, but then because of all the burdens in the family, so he couldn't achieve that, and he has to take another route, which is the government route. Um, you know, be a spokesperson of government. That sort of gives him the attention that he seeks for and crave for. But originally, I think maybe he thought about doing something else that he can also achieve some level of attention, but somehow um, he met the resistance from his family responsibilities, and also probably some male figures who discouraged him. They would tell him, no, you can't do it because of this, because of that, and then he would switch his path towards something else, which is the government route. Mm. Venus has the aspect with Neptune. So Neptune, in the sign of Sagittarius, is about philosophical side of life, and Venus is about values and what we love. So he has the ideology, he has the ideal of something philosophical, even be related to religious. Um, that's why he can preach. He will preach. Um, and Venus has an aspect with Pluto, so well, he cares a lot about his appearance, and he cares a lot about how he behaves outwardly, um, especially communications. Um, he probably plans for every speech that he is doing in a very delicate manner, and he probably has some kind of controlling issues in conversations, and you know he tend to be wanting to be in the upper hand in conversations, so that can be kind of sensitive somehow. Um, and when he decide to say something, it can be very intense sometimes. And but the good thing is he tries his best to gain the balance in um, walking on fine lines, but that is not easy for him because of the Chiron in Gemini. As I said, he has to pay the price for being two-sided. Um, I mean, but that's the configuration. Um, there will be situations where he wants to gain the balance. He wants to go in between, but um, it's not that easy for him to do so. And it can make or break him somehow because the Pluto in Libra energy, as I mentioned earlier, fairness is really perceptional sometimes. And if he couldn't get through that barrier and limitations, the controlling issues um, about being right, being accurate, being fair, if he cannot jump out of that boxes, it can be quite problematic for him. But I believe that he should have the insight to rise above because of Neptune in Sagittarius, which is a very philosophical sign. So, um, whenever this person is very stuck into um, a position where he can't really move beyond the limitations, if he dives into the philosophical side of reality, then he can move beyond the controlling issues that he experienced in his life. And when he moves beyond some of the things that he is very stuck with, most of the time he can surprise people. Because at one point people would think, oh, he's gonna be stuck with this, but then no, he will prove that he can change in a very surprising way. Um, but the situation is that is worth to mention is if he is out of balance, somehow, uh, if the situation calls for it, then he will definitely make a radical shift because he wants to gain back the balance within his psyche and within his emotional self, so he can really switch side um, whenever he feels he needs to. If he feels like the power dynamics is out of balance, he will definitely change it. Um, the moon sign, well, let me talk about. Um, he has the moon sextile Venus, so he can be someone in the authority position who is good in aligning with the sense of fairness and balance. Somehow, this kind of conflicts his family life somehow. Well, Venus also sextile Pluto and trining Neptune. That can be meaning big money, um, but somehow it's gonna cause some problems for his family. I mean that big money. Um, I wonder if there's some kind of big money, uh, large amount of money that is involving some of the male figures in his family, and which actually can create some problems with him. Even though those money can also be benefiting him, but somehow can affect his reputation in a negative way. Um, and then we can talk about Sun semi-sextile Mercury. So this is a minor positive aspect. His mental capability can express his ego in a positive way. Um, Not without restrictions though, because of the influence of Saturn, and in the sign of Scorpio. So there are always some kind of secrets that he doesn't want to tell, and probably family secrets, and something that has a tremendous burden uh, on his reputation that he wouldn't want to talk about and feel pressured to deal with. So his mind is always tied into the family's situation, which is always difficult and burdensome for him, even though he has the attention and focus to deal with his family, but that doesn't make his life easier. Um, his moon sign has a semi-square with Mercury. That means his emotions is not always aligned with his mentality. Like he thinks in a way that is very precise and logical, but then the moon sign in Libra is very concerned about fairness, and on one end he has to be very precise about uh, what he talks about, but at the same time he has to create the balance. So usually he can find himself um, talking about things that can actually contradict his sense of fairness. But probably because of the income that he's making, then he has to say something that he probably does not always align with the moon in Libra energy, because it is a semi-square. So, you know, and then um, Mercury trine Jupiter sometimes can be kind of exaggerating. Sextiling Saturn. He speaks with a lot of weight, um, with a lot of responsibilities. Mercury square Uranus. This is about surprising changes in his speeches. So it is already proved to be true, because he was supporting Trump before, and then now he's supporting him, and then who knows what's gonna happen next. Mercury trine Neptune. Neptune is about deception, ideological, sometimes too good to be true. So, um, yeah, sometimes a little bit deceptive in communications can be an issue. And Mercury also making squares with North Node, South Node, and Chiron. So the way he thinks is always tied into the pain that he experienced previously with his friendships. Also about what he has spoken about, and what he has spoken that contradicted him somehow, um, whether it is his future self or his past self. It is always gonna be a burden in his mind. Um, and the way he thinks is always tied into one or maybe multiple failures in communications, also in regards to friendships. So his mind is very tied up with the pain that he could not heal from. And this pain is also bringing obstacles to him, but at the same time, leading him to where he needs to be, which is about the Gemini energy, which is about two-sided, and also creativity and communications. Um, yeah. Okay, then. Um, Let me see. The moon sign in Libra. The moon semi-sextile Mars. So even though he has conflicts with male authority figures, um, in his emotional self, he is okay with these people, even though these people challenge him, challenge his authority, and challenge his self-image. But he emotionally feels aligned with these male figures in his life. So it's kind of contradictory, even though he's being, um, you know, uh, being challenged, but at the same time, uh, his moon sign in Libra uh, is is okay with the challenge, because he probably finds it um, a fair deal to be challenged by male authority figures, because at the same time he's gaining a lot uh, at the same time. So, but this is his point of view. Maybe he's okay with um, this type of emotions, but then for the other person, uh, they might not be the same way. So this can be a threat to him, because even though he sees challenges, um, and the male figures who challenge him as being helpful to establish his identity, but sometimes uh, it's not always good, because you don't know uh, if somebody's gonna be really hurt him, um, and that's not in a way that he can perceive as helpful anymore. So what I want to say is, somehow he can be inviting some kind of threat into his life, and thinking that it's all good, it's okay, but in fact it's not okay. Um, because who wants to be constantly having their ego contradicted. Periodically, it's okay, but constantly, I'm not sure whether it is good or not. Um, and then the moon, um, semi-square Uranus. So his emotions, his sense of balance can sometimes face radical changes and unpredictability. So his emotions can be sometimes an issue because the effect of Uranus on his moon, um, he's not very predictable on an emotional level. Moon conjunct Pluto, though, um, he always tries his best to be very stable, and I think most of the time he can obtain the stability, um, but it's very challenging for him because he keeps getting the disruption from Uranus. So his inner self, emotional self, inner well-being, I don't think he's very stable. Um, he's better uh, it's better for him to develop some kind of um, you know meditation practice or whatever to bring him into balance, the balanced state of mind. If not, it can be very troublesome. um, and then Pluto has several supportive aspects, such as sextile Venus, big money, sextile Jupiter. Jupiter has a sextile with Saturn, so people from older generations, they will bring him a lot of money. These money and resources help him to transform himself. And at some point, if he is sick, um, that can also be very helpful for him in transforming his life in general. And mostly, well, I wonder if he needs to be very careful about driving because of Pluto in the sign of Libra, and third house is about communications, short distance travel. I would say he sometimes can have very intense travel experience, short distance, that can actually transform him, but at the same time, because of the Pluto energy, sometimes can be too intense. Some of the conversations can also be too intense sometimes. And usually he has the money to transform the situation, which is very beneficial for him personally. But at the same time, because of the source of the money, he has a lot of burdens that he can't totally do what he wants to do. Saturn. Saturn has some good aspects, as I mentioned. Usually, this is about the money that he receives and he earns. But Saturn squaring the Sun sign, he probably has a lot of creative ideas and abilities, but some of the abilities he cannot express them because of the burden. He wants to be creative. He wants to be, uh, having the creativity of the Leo sun sign, but there are things that don't allow him to shine, and I think those are money related things. Um, well, I strongly feel like in his life there can be some kind of unpredictable events that can be related to finances or can lead to some kind of financial dealings, some kind of deals that can actually affect his personal identity, his personal freedom. Um, yeah, and those things are not always under his control because of the Uranus nature. Um, you know, those matters can be related to his kids, can be related to uh, the love interest that he previously happened in his life. Um, because Uranus is in the fifth house, and South Node, something he lost, unpredictably lost, and had a very huge lesson about it. Um, that kind of changed his entire philosophy about life. Yeah, I think he experienced tremendous pain in his life because of some kind of unpredictable relationships and turns of events, and that actually reshaped his mentality. Um, so I think um, yeah, that there's the side of the duality that he always pursuing um, because he thinks that it will be easier. It's gonna be beneficial for him in his life. Um, he can go both ways, so that gives him the flexibility to shine, even though sometimes he can feel out of balance in his psyche. Like he doesn't want to go both ways. Sometimes he just wants to be peaceful and um, be in harmony, because the moon sign in Libra, he wants harmony. He doesn't want constantly fighting. That's why I think he doesn't he's sort of anti-war, because he wants peace. I believe so. He wants peace. Um, but you know what? The Libra energy is also the source of the battle sometimes, because sometimes when people feel like they're out of balance, then they're gonna fight. Um, why um, in the legal system we always see the balance, the shape of the scale, the balance. Uh, it is about fairness. The Libran energy. Um, so even though people want peace and harmony, but they still ending up fighting in the court. So that's the idea. So um, I feel like JD Vance is anti-war, but at the same time he has no choice but to go both ways. Um, Even though sometimes he would say, "Oh, I totally don't want any wars, but somehow, if the wind changes, he will change the rhetoric. Um, but in general, I don't think he wants any fighting. So that's the thing. Um, Pluto conjunct Moon, he's very prone to controlling his emotions. Um, and I think this can be beneficial for him because uh, Pluto is tremendously powerful, and this can help him to transcend beyond the disruptions of the Uranus energy. Uh-huh. And then the south node is kind of is semi-sextiling Jupiter, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I think he can be kind of lucky in his job and also his health. Um, if his kids have health issues, um, probably their sufferings can actually benefit him personally because of them having the problems. Then he'll be more aware of the importance of health and well-being. Mm, but the south node squaring Mercury though. Um, I think he always in his thinking and his form of communication is always linked to some kind of loss, some kind of pain on an ideological level, and yeah, what he says, what he expresses is always related to some kind of loss. Um, and I think he kind of cultivates his reputation by, you know, uh, gathering all the pain from the collective and then say something for the collective um, when the collective is not feeling well, and he would say it, um, and that's the way that he can gain a lot of support. Uranus, semi-sextile Saturn, is kind of disrupting the energy of people who are older than him, but in a positive way. So sometimes he can inspire older people. Um, but Uranus squaring Mercury, that can be kind of, the way he speaks it sometimes can can make some people feel uneasy. But for people who are innovative, that they can find him inspiring, and I think JD Vance is aware of his, you know, his strength and weaknesses in his speech. He is aware of it, but he can't 100% always keep it under control. But at least I would say he is aware about it. Neptune conjunct Jupiter. Um, it can be some kind of over expansion of of his speech, and also because there is a connection of Venus and Neptune. Um, his pleasure, uh, the way he likes the attention, um, sometimes can be too much. Um, Jupiter trine Mercury. Yeah, exaggeration in communications. Sometimes it is not that of a big deal, but he will say it in a way that, you know, creates a lot of noise. Um, he definitely can stir the pot by his speech and his thinking, um, which can be both good and bad because sometimes not all the situations should be um, magnified. You know, sometimes if things can be de-escalated, it would be great. But in this way, you know, uh, sometimes that there is some kind of exaggeration. Hmm. So overall, in general, I would say JD Vance is a person who speaks with a lot of um, responsibilities, and his speech can create the sense of security for a lot of people, uh, and he also tends to speak for people who are in pain, who lost something, and he generally would speak for them. Um, but there is also a sense of exaggeration somehow. Um, and I do believe that there is a significant amount of money matters that can actually, uh, at some point, make him or break him. Can be kind of problematic, even though um, he also gained a lot of benefits by receiving those resources, because those resources actually help him to transform his life. Um, but then, there's also the price to pay, which is the personal reputation, um, and also his sense of authority can, always be, um, I would say, a little bit suppressed by the older people around him. So he has to be always knowing how to navigate with the people who are older than him. Um, I think he's always aiming towards inspiring the older generations, sometimes kind of disrupting the status quo, but at the same time, proving to the older generations that what he thinks and his vision can work, so that he can gain the support from, people who are older than him. Um, this is also a person who has a lot of control with his emotions, that can sustain a lot of disruptions. Um, but I do see the contradictions between his sense of wanting to have the peace, but at the same time, he wants to go both ways, because he wants both worlds. He doesn't only want one-sided. He wants to be, two-sided. So that can gives him a lot of burden on an emotional level. Um, so anyway, this is my analysis for JD Vance. I hope you like this video. If you like the video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate. And I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.